Today I am driving the brand new 992.2 Carrera GTS 4. It's a big mouthful, and it is quite the departure from the previous 911 GTSs. Let me explain why. And there's a couple of things, like I'm a bit late in doing a review. There's lots of other reviews online. There's a few things that I've noticed that other people haven't noticed, and we'll get to those as well. So whenever I meet someone who's got a GTS model, I always ask them, why did you buy the GTS? And the answer is almost always, because I want something special. And that's fair enough, and I respect that. And that's what the GTS should be. It should be something a little more special than the other models. And that's not always true. Whether it's a Macan or a Panamera or a 911, sometimes they're a bit hit and miss, the GTS. Sometimes they're more fluff and marketing than a truly special experience, which they should be, because you're paying a lot more for a GTS over an S or a base or whatever other model. So yes, there's been some great GTS models within the Porsche lineup, and there's been a few meh ones as well. However, that all changes with this car. This is a significantly different car than the S model in the 992.2 range. Yeah, this engine is something else. When you put your foot down, no matter how slowly you're going and no matter what revs, this new hybrid drivetrain just smacks you in the face like a large rubber dildo. Yeah, it is something else. Now, power in this engine, obviously it's a combination of both the new 3.6 litre engine and the electric engine, and it's supposed to be about 530 horsepower. It's not. There's no way this is 530 horsepower. When I first started driving this car, the first thing I thought was, this thing picks up like a Turbo S, maybe more. So that's the thing. Porsche always understates their numbers. So it's no surprise this car feels a little more powerful than I was expecting. However, I suspect it's a lot more powerful than they're saying. This might be the biggest lot of lies that Porsche's put out on the spec sheet yet. So let's talk about that for a second. The official 0 to 60 time for this car is 2.9 seconds. However, everyone that's testing it, YouTubers and Car and Driver and all these people, are getting much better numbers than that, like 2.5, even 2.2 for the four-wheel drive model like that. Guess what other car produces those numbers? That's right, the Turbo S has exactly the same numbers. What about quarter mile? Yes, the official number of a quarter mile for this car is 11.1 seconds. However, everyone that's testing these cars are getting 10.5 seconds, even closer to 10. Pickup is exactly the same as a Turbo S. But you think, oh well, the Turbo S is definitely going to be faster, right? This car's official top speed, 194 miles an hour. The official top speed of the Turbo S is 205. And you can watch videos all day long where people are managing to get 205 miles an hour, which is 330 kilometers an hour out of their Turbo S. However, a few people have picked up a new model of this, taken it out on the Autobahn and put their foot down, and guess what speed they're getting out of their cars? That's right, 330 kilometers an hour, which is 205 miles an hour. This car is exactly as fast as a Turbo S, the current iteration, the 992.1 Turbo S. So it really is a differentiator for the GTS model. It is blindingly fast as a Turbo S, way faster than the S, and of course this model looks a lot different. The vertical blinds on the front are a bit of a statement that I'm getting used to. I didn't like them at first, but I do like them now. So yeah, it's a pretty cool looking car on the outside as well. So it really does have amazing performance, and it does look special. What are the downsides? Well, much like a Turbo S, you know, the Turbo S is a great car. However, it is a bit of a pig weight-wise, and that's true of this car as well, in that, you know, it's got a bigger engine, it's got the electric hybrid system and the battery and all the other stuff. So, you know, it's going to be 250 pounds heavier in the two-wheel drive model, or almost 400 pounds heavier in this, the four-wheel drive model. So it's got the same issues weight-wise as the Turbo S has got. And so that's the other thing that people have always said about the 911 GTS, is that if you look at old reviews of GTSs gone by, the statement that is so often said is, this is the car that sits between the S and the GT3. No one's ever going to say that ever again, because this does not sit between the S and the GT3 anymore. This sits between, well, at the moment, it's in a league of its own. But assuming that the new Turbo and Turbo S have this engine in it and have way more power, the true statement now is that this car sits between the S and the Turbo. This is a much heavier car now with a lot more power. So it's got no similarities with the GT3 anymore, but has a lot of similarities with the Turbo and the Turbo S. So yes, this is a new direction for the GTS models within the 911 range. They're heading away from being a more sporty model to being more of a GT cruiser like the Turbo and the Turbo S models. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think overall, for sales of GTS models, it's a good thing, because Porsche 911 owners, they pretend that they want the sportiest car like a GT3, but they actually want a GT car where they can use it every day, and when they put their foot to the floor, it launches away and impresses the shit out of all of their friends. Differentiating looks and punch in the guts power. Okay, so what else? What's it like to drive? Well, it's as you would expect. The suspension is a little firmer, even in normal mode, than the base model or the S model that I've driven recently. I actually prefer the softer suspension because no Porsche 911 handles poorly. Yeah, I can understand people want this to be a special model, so they want it a little firmer. And of course, the dashboard gives you a bunch more information. You've got the little battery indicator you don't see in other models. And of course, up the top, you can see the regen versus usage of power happening with the blue or the green there. The other interesting stat on the dashboard is that it's just like other turbocharged models. It's got a turbo PSI meter, and you can see how rapidly that climbs compared to previous models. And it tops out, I think, at 19 PSI. Let me just put my foot down now and we'll have a look. Yeah, but yeah, it shoots up there. That little electric motor helping with the turbocharger just means it's bang on the power. It does make me wonder how long it could hold that top speed for as well, because obviously once the battery runs out, which won't be long, it's a small battery, it would have to throttle back again. Okay, so let's take a look at a few pros and cons of the new GTS. Firstly, this T-Hybrid engine is insane. It clearly delivers far more power than advertised. Likely over 640 horsepower, certainly enough to kick the ass of any other current 911 owner. Secondly, the external styling does help set it apart from lesser 911 models. People will be more likely to notice that you spent the money on the fancy model. These two factors alone should make the new GTS a hugely popular model going forward, as this is likely what is actually important to many 911 buyers. That said, Porsche have, and let's be generous here, a checkered history regarding reliability on hybrid models, particularly post-warranty. This, of course, remains to be seen with the T-Hybrid. However, my most glaring negative with this new GTS is that having driven over 100 different Porsche 911 models over the last 10 years, this is the very first time I've found the experience to be, well, somewhat artificial. Why exactly? I guess it's hard to put my finger on, but it's likely a combination of the sort of piped-in engine sound, the unusual power delivery, and it all seems a little disconnected. Maybe it just takes getting used to, I don't know. My second issue, while it's not a major issue, it's certainly noticeable that the PDK is confused at times. I guess this is common in other Porsche hybrid models, but I've never seen it in a 911. Maybe it was just this particular car. Time will tell. And finally, and something to note, is shortly after driving this GTS, I got into the new base model 992.2 and immediately found myself thinking, wow, this is so much more enjoyable to drive. Likely this is due to a range of factors, like it's more of a connected driving experience, better sounding engine, and personally I find the 400 odd horsepower just more fun and engaging. Less is more for me. And of course the PDK was spot on in the base model. So really that's just something to consider, because a base or an S model really shouldn't be more engaging to drive than a GTS. Well, not in my book anyway. Next, let's take a look at the options on this particular car, which are interesting in that there are so few. This car has a base price of $173,000 US and only has $10,000 worth of options, which equates to about 6% of the base price. This car is a unicorn. Normally people struggle to keep options below 20% of the base price. That said, it really is not missing anything important, so let's check it out. Firstly, and most obviously, is the colour, ice grey metallic, which, by the way, despite what the configurator claims, is metallic white, not grey at all, and it is a huge upgrade over the base white. Next is the slate grey chalk two-tone leather, only $430 because the GTS trim
includes full leather already. A free option is the rear seats. I mean, why wouldn't you? As I've said before, these two-tone leathers in the 992.2 models are amazing and include a bunch of deviated stitching. However, there is a GTS interior package for an extra $5,000 for those of you that really lust after this silly race text. Glass sunroof, $2,000, always a popular choice. $1,520 gets you the 14-way seats with memory package, which also have the $840 ventilated seat option. And finally, the big ticket number, the premium package at $4,600, which includes that useless storage net, the helpful surround view parking system, the Bose audio upgrade, the excellent adaptive cruise control, and the stupid ionizer and the worthwhile lane change assist. GTS models also, of course, include a lot of standard equipment like the rear axle steering, T-Hybid decal on the side, Racetech roof lining, black brushed aluminium trim, which I like, clear rear lights, the Sport Chrono package, sports exhaust, of course, those giant 400mm brakes up front, and the annoying center lock wheels. So overall, a really nicely optioned car despite so few options. And finally today, if you haven't already, go and check out my friend Joe Achilles' review of this same GTS. His reviews are a little more technical than mine, and I really enjoyed his one of this car, so it's just a little bit of a different style. Go and check him out.